The investigation into the high school massacre is slow-moving and dangerous. The two gunmen who went on the rampage booby-trapped the building and even themselves.
On April 20th, 1999, the Columbine school shooting stunned the world. Two gunmen, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, killed 12 students and one teacher while injuring dozens more. Both committed suicide before police intervention. The media covered the tragedy aggressively, scouring the town for people with knowledge or ties to the incident. Almost everyone born before 1999 can recall Columbine in some way. It's an event that makes you remember where you were when you first heard about it. However, it wasn't the only significant shooting of the 90s. It was just a more publicized one. Nearly a year earlier, in March of 1998, Mitchell Johnson and Andrew Golden killed 4 students and 1 teacher in Jonesboro, Arkansas. At the time, it was the second deadliest school shooting in U.S. history. To this day, it remains the largest murder at a middle school in U.S. history. Both shooters, ages 14 and 12 respectively, were tried as children and received a sentence of imprisonment until age 21, which was the maximum sentence under Arkansas law. Judge Wilson told the court that day that the punishment will not fit the crime. Golden lived to be 33 before killing another person along with himself in a car accident. Johnson lives on today. Yet, do a quick Google search and you'll see a great disparity in the coverage between the two incidents. Google yields just shy of 750,000 results for the Jonesboro shooting, compared to a staggering 11 million for the Columbine shooting. The tragedy of this incident raises the question, why did the Columbine shootings gain national notoriety while the Jonesboro shootings have seemingly disappeared in the minds of Americans? Even those impacted by the Jonesboro shootings feel that the shootings have been muted in the minds of others. As Mary Hollins Inbeden told NPR, quote, "It feels like we're lost in a sea of shootings that came after," end quote. One symptom for the disparity in coverage could be the magnitude of the shootings. A study conducted by Jason Silva and Joel Capellan found that the shootings with higher fatalities and injuries traditionally attract more attention for news outlets and media. The Columbine massacre had 8 more fatalities than the Jonesboro shooting, which may help explain some of the disparity. Second could be the location. Columbine is only a half hour outside of Denver, which makes its coverage impactful given the proximity to a major American city. However, Jonesboro is only an hour outside of Memphis, suggesting it should have received similar coverage. The third major difference may have to do with the wealth of the two areas. In 2000, Jonesboro had a median household income of just over $32,000, nearly $10,000 below the national average. Meanwhile, Columbine had a median household income of $77,000, more than double that of Jonesboro. Only 2% of the population of Columbine lived below the poverty line, while nearly 1 in 5 individuals in Jonesboro did. The contrast between the coverage of the shootings in Jonesboro and Columbine, respectively, represents a microcosm for coverage of impoverished, marginalized communities in global media. According to Christopher H. Sterling's Encyclopedia of Journalism, coverage of marginalized and impoverished communities often takes a backseat to news oriented on economics or pop culture. Citing a study conducted on coverage of Africa in the United States, Sterling explains that most African news appearing in the United States has to do with business relations with America, rather than the spread of disease or regularity of malnutrition. In 2014, Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, a progressive media watchdog group, found that 3 major network newscasts devoted just 0.2% of their programming to poverty in a 14-month period. The Jonesboro and Columbine shootings were both great American tragedies. Both featured juvenile shooters who killed and injured both classmates and teachers. However, the coverage of this incident remains disproportionate due to magnitude, location, and wealth. While regard for impoverished persons has improved, journalism still has strides to make when covering areas impacted by income inequality.